Look, I'm gonna be the first one to admit that my sleep schedule is like entirely fucked, but the amount of fuckery that goes on within my head when I try to sleep is incomparable to what's been going on lately. So, for the last, I want to say, week or 2 weeks, my perception of time is really skewed at this point because I've just been sleeping so much. Um, that each day I've been sleeping like multiple times a day, sometimes adding up to like 18, 19 hours, like insane amounts of sleep like that. And it hasn't been because I've been seriously depressed. I felt basically normal. Like I felt like my emotional state is at like a baseline. Like the line isn't moving. It's not particularly going up or down, but I'm not sad, you know? I don't feel overtly bad, but I've been sleeping all the time. And it's really weird to me because normally when I try to sleep, I can only get to sleep at the brink of exhaustion, at that point where I've been awake all this time, I've been doing lots of things, and then I just get to sleep. I've never been particularly good at sleeping on a sleep schedule. That's been probably the single most difficult thing for me, um, in terms of like trying to be normal and do normal things throughout my entire life. Is that I've never been able to sleep at a consistent time. When I was in school, I would end up being forced to sleep at the same time, and ultimately, what ended up happening was I would end up not being able to sleep, and I would lay in bed for hours and hours on end. And then, when I would go to school, I would either sleep in the class or come home and then fall asleep as soon as I got home. And then the cycle would just repeat itself. I would only end up getting a few hours of sleep each time because every single day I was forced to be awake at a certain time for a certain amount of time to do certain things. And so, as a result of those constraints that I had, I couldn't just sleep and then stay asleep when my brain wanted to. I was forced to sleep at a specific time that I was told to, which didn't work. I tried all of these like weird psychological meditation that calm your mind, like all kinds of just weird methods. I tried sleeping for like a few hours and then waking up again. There's a special name for that. It's like a psychological trick that they use. I tried like timing the REM sleep and stuff. I did all kinds of things. Took lots of different medicines, pills. I would take melatonin each night to try and help me get to sleep. I took various medicines that doctors gave me, which worked for a while. The medicines worked for a while to get me to sleep, and then they stopped working. It's always after a few months that you get used to the medicine, and then the medicine doesn't do its job anymore. So I feel like I'm just totally fucked when it comes to sleep because every single time I end up being put into this position where I'm trying to make myself have the discipline to sleep at the right time each day and to do things correctly. But even when I'm forced to do that by like school and stuff, as I have been in the past, it just didn't work. And I don't really know what the cause of this is. Like, my dad had a lot of trouble sleeping when he was a kid. He has restless leg syndrome and stuff, has very serious sleeping problems. I've never been diagnosed with RLS or a sleeping disorder or anything like what he has. They've looked at me and they just said, well, I think your kid is just unusual. So I really don't know why I am this way. I just know that I am. Like, every single time I've tried to sleep the correct way, the way that you're supposed to, I've always failed. And I've been trying every single method in the book for as long as I can remember. See, when I first started being homeschooled, when I was about 5 years old, we had homeschool kindergarten, as we called it. There wasn't much of like an imperative to wake up at the same time each day because I wasn't being forced by any like institution to do that. I could sleep in if I wanted to. My mom didn't really care. It was her job to teach me. Um, and so I was basically doing fine at that time in terms of sleep because I wasn't forced to sleep at any time. But I did have a lot of trouble. I had a lot of trouble sleeping even back then. And so they gave me the liberty to wake up when I needed to because my mom realized it was probably more important for me to get the right amount of sleep rather than being forced to wake up at a specific time. Hmm. Hmm. It's almost like the school system isn't tailored to individual needs and just kind of forces everyone in a box, whether it leads them to fall through the cracks one way or another. Hmm. I wonder if that system that was created somehow is disadvantage to stranger and more out there individuals who, for no fault of their own, just can't work within these very specific set of parameters that have been, created for them. And it's weird to me because like everything that we do in like mainstream society, like what you're supposed to do, is kind of built around this idea of having a schedule. Jobs, schedule, 8-hour work week. You go there each day, you wake up each day, and you have to do that. School is like that from the beginning. In many ways, the way that school is built is just to train you to get a job. Like, school doesn't really teach you anything that's particularly important. Like, you spend however many years there, and maybe you do calculus or some kind of nonsense like that, and then you forget it because you never use it. You learn how to read, obviously. Everyone learns how to read. Most people forget all of the history and science that they do. Most of that is just cramming information in your head for you to take a test and then for you to forget it. They don't really teach you any like critical thinking skills there. They don't really teach you, how to be a good person or how to question systems and authority and stuff, because that would be going against their bottom line. The institutions are created so you can uh, work in society, not so you can think about what's wrong with society. They don't want that. They want obedient workers. They don't want um, people who are smart and want to change things. They just need that like 10-20% of society who are very well read and can be politicians or can be cultural workers. They need that 20% who's a little bit more woke and who's a little bit more smart. They control them through things like the media and stuff. They use these media institutions to enforce a narrative that might not necessarily be true, but they use it to control them and to keep them down. But that's with people who actually succeed through the school system and go to college and stuff and go to these more specialized institutions. Most people, they just leave high school or they do 4 years of college and they didn't really learn anything from that either, and then they just get an office job or they just do a minimum wage job. Most people just do a minimum wage job in my experience. Adults, I see people in their 50s doing minimum wage jobs and stuff, and it's really sad. um, but that's the idea, is that they want you to be an obedient worker who can follow a schedule, who knows how to follow a schedule, and who can clock in each day and just do these menial tasks, memorize these pieces of information and then spit them out just to forget them a week later, or continue making the exact same fucking factory part over and over and over again, no matter how monotonous it is. That's the goal of the US education system. um, and it's no wonder why adult literacy is so bad, or why in general our population makes bad decisions. Is because the education system wasn't built to make people make good decisions. It was made to make people follow a schedule and to go to work every day for the rest of their lives until they die. So people like me who our minds are messed up and we can't sleep at the same time every day. I feel like all of the way society has been structured thus far is totally not made for us. Like, it's the ability to follow a schedule is so fundamental within the way that like we do anything, the way that we make money, survive, compete with one another in the job market, the way that we study for school each day. all of that all of that is reliant on the ability to wake up at a certain time each day and fulfill a certain amount of tasks within a given amount of time. And if you can't do that, like, you're kind of fucked. You either become an entrepreneur and make your own way of making money, or I don't know, you just kill yourself or something. Um, so I think it's unfortunate that like the way that society has been structured is like this, because there's someone like me, like I spend a week just sleeping at totally random times because I was tired. Like, I wasn't doing that just because. I would just lay down and then I would fall asleep by no fault of my own. I'd be listening to a YouTube video or something, and then like just today, I went to sleep at 3 p.m. yesterday, and then I woke up at 3 a.m. That's a full 12 hours that I was asleep, and I had only been awake for about 6 hours at that point. So like the day had barely started, and I was already asleep, and I had slept for like 13 hours previously. I'm only just now starting to count it, but if I add up all of the numbers, like, it seems like I've slept more and more each day as time has gone on, and just at totally random times. That's the thing, is that like I'll sleep multiple times in a day for huge amounts of time. No reason whatsoever. I can't find a reason. I haven't figured it out. I'm just doing that. And it's like, what the hell is wrong with my brain to cause me to be like this? That's what I want to know. So what the hell makes someone just sleep at totally random times for ginormous amounts of time all of the sudden? Now, I've done this in the past when I was really depressed. Like, I made a video called Sleeping 16 Hours a Day, where I would literally just sleep 16 hours a day all the time. Um, but it hasn't happened in quite some time. And so, like, now, like, the fact that I've been sleeping so much, I feel like I have to cut that shit out because I have to make use of my time to study Japanese and stuff. And also, just like the fact that I'm not able to be on a schedule after years, like 10 fucking years of rigorously trying to, seems like a really worrying thing to me. It seems like something I should probably be worried about. It's just that I have no idea how to counteract something like that. I have no idea how to fix a problem like that. It seems like something that's just there with me to stay. Maybe when I get really old, I won't have to worry about it so much. But as time stands now, this has just always been something that I've dealt with, and I have no idea, absolutely no idea how to fix it. And I don't know. My brain is broken. My brain is broken, man. I don't understand how to sleep at the right times. I don't understand how to sleep for the right amount of time. Um, I just sleep, or I don't sleep at all. I have many times where I will just not want to sleep, and I'll stay awake for 2 days. Just 2 days. Oh yeah, not a big deal. I'm just gonna stay awake for 2 days now, and make constant vlogs. And that was something that I did not too long ago, is that I couldn't sleep. So I just filmed like 10 fucking videos. I don't think I released a lot of them, but that happened not too long ago, is that I was awake for like 2 days, and then I just kept filming videos because I was getting so bored because I couldn't sleep. I kept trying to sleep, tossing and turning, laying down for hours. This is a pretty common occurrence with me when I try to force myself to get to sleep instead of, actually just falling asleep. And so I spent 2 days just awake. And this happens with me every now and again, is that I just will not have the will to sleep. I just won't want to, and I'll have too much energy, so I just won't do it. And it's very odd to me that I'll have periods like that where I'm desperately trying to get to sleep and I can't because I have too much energy and it goes days on end. And then I have these periods where I will just sleep constantly. Makes absolutely no sense to me. And it, like like I've explained this stuff to, a doctor before, and they suggested all of these different things. They're like, well, maybe you have this or maybe you have that. And this seems to be something that has happened with me with doctors over and over and over again. They never seem to come to a conclusion about what it is that I have or what it is that I am. They just give me a bunch of different diagnoses and a bunch of different solutions. I try the solutions, and then the one that tends to work the best is just literal medication. And then the medication stops working after a couple of months. And then they contradict themselves on what the diagnoses are. I see a different doctor and they tell me I have a totally different thing. And it happens again and again. So it's like, what the fuck even am I? What problem do I possibly have when I'm getting differing answers on all sides? And how do I fix this issue, to function properly in the world, a world that is heavily based on being able to do these basic things? If I'm not able to do that, what do I do? They say either you sink or you swim, but how can you swim if you're either constantly falling asleep or not being able to sleep at the times everyone wants you to? You can't really swim in an ocean that's subjugated based on what time people tell you to swim. Um, so I don't know. It's kind of driving me insane, to be honest, because I see myself doing these behaviors and I see the frequency with which I'm doing them. And I think about the real world implications of this common behavior, of this repeated behavior that I've had, and I'm like, how the fuck am I going to deal with this? If I'm forced to get work, or if I eventually leave this place, like if I can't make money on my own, what do I do? Literally, what do I do? Because I know I'm gonna have to show up to work every day, tired as fuck, the way that I did in school, probably not be able to do my job correctly the way that I did in school. Um, and I would be fucked in that situation. Completely and entirely fucked. Um, but I mean, it's okay. It's like I have Japanese that I'm learning. I want to learn other things. And so, as long as I keep doing that every day and I eventually get good at it, I could turn it into a marketable skill that I could make money from. And if I do that, I'll be okay. But until then, it seems like things are going to be pretty rocky, pretty uh, bad, for lack of any better term. They're just going to be bad. Um, and a university is a very peculiar situation for me because at this point, I feel like what I'm probably going to do with university is just get like a bunch of debt. It's just get a bunch of loans and then go to university like not part time, but just like have, because in university there's different schedules that you can get. You don't necessarily have to work as long as you would in primary school or high school or whatever. You can work for different amounts of time depending on what it is that you're doing. And so like I feel like even if I got only 5 hours of sleep like I have many times in the past, I know how to deal with that better now. So I would just drink coffee or something, take an Adderall or whatever it is that I need to do, and then just study the work, and I think I would be fine more or less. Still would suck. It would still suck having to do that. But if I could get a schedule where I can sleep for a decent amount of time, and I don't have to like work constantly at the actual school, I think university will be okay. It does sort of worry me though, like the amount of debt I'm most likely going to accrue, because the thing about debt is that it doesn't really exist. Like, money doesn't really exist. It's kind of a concept. And even if you hold it with you your entire life, it just prevents you from getting other loans or, buying a house or something. But it's like, who wants to buy a house? It's such a, or who wants to buy a car? That's such a blue pilled concept. Ooh, my freedom, man. I gotta buy a car, man. It's the American dream. And it's just, it seems really dumb to me. Um, I don't understand the desire to do either of those things. But um because you can just take public transit. Just take public transit or walk somewhere. It's like 20 times more healthy to walk somewhere in comparison to using a car. And if you want to buy a house, why would you want to buy a house? You would be forced to live in the same place forever. That sounds like a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Living in the same place. That's so boring. I think life should be filled with movement, always going to new places. So like there's a lot of things that having a pretty steep loan can prevent you from being able to do, depending on who you're dealing with and what reputation you have with the loan, if you get your payments on time and everything. But I think I think it's not that big of a hindrance as a whole. If I'm going to go to university, I would inevitably have to get into debt because there just wouldn't be any other way. Like, my parents wouldn't really be able to fund something like that. So that's what I would have to do. And I would pay it off eventually. And as long as I was careful about how much food I bought and the place that I lived in, I could pay it off eventually. It's just that it's a bit of a hassle, especially because depending on what your income is, they might not offer you certain loans, and the interest rates on them as they go up can be pretty steep and pretty scary. So I don't know. I either make it a marketable skill to know this language on my own, to teach it to myself, or I go to university and get some other kind of skill, and then I use that to make money. There's not really very many other options. And it's those two factors of like economic insecurity, of being kind of worried about the debt situation, and then also being kind of worried um about the sleep situation. But I think both of those can be manageable under the right circumstances. Really, it's who I'm going to get the loan from that I'm more scared about, because I don't want to be a United States citizen for the rest of my life. I really, really don't. Um, I hate this country more than most people could imagine. Like, I literally cannot remember a time in my life where I did not hate this country, genuinely hate this country. Now, for the last 6 years, I've been thinking almost every single day about leaving the United States. That's how much I hate it here. Um, I've been fantasizing about it for a long time, and counting up the years until I turn 18 even longer. And so I like, as soon as I can get rid of my citizenship and get rid of my nationality as an American, I want to do it as fast as I possibly can. I want to shed any possible links to this fucking horrible country that I can. I hate it here. I genuinely hate it, and so I don't want to be a citizen here. But the problem is that when you become a citizen of another country, you're probably not going to want to have debts to another country. Like if I have, U.S. government loans or something, or just loans from a U.S. company in general, it's not going to make me look super good as a foreign applicant for citizenship, because now I'm not going to be in good standing. I'm not going to necessarily look like a good character because I have massive amounts of debt. And so that isn't really what people are looking for when they think about foreign workers entering their country, you know? They don't want someone who has to get by based on, getting huge student loans and stuff. And I also worry about like the complications of getting rid of my U.S. nationality because if I have, taxes and stuff to pay off in the US, is you have to pay off all of your taxes before you get rid of your US nationality. So if I have taxes that I still have to pay off and debts and stuff that I have to pay off, that could make the process to get rid of that nationality take longer. And I really don't want to do that. I kind of want to get rid of it as fast as I can, become a resident, a citizen of another nation as fast as I can. Um, so it's those elements that are really annoying to me. But in general, I think it's manageable as long as I'm smart about it. As long as you're smart about anything, you can get through. Like my sleep schedule is fucked up, but that doesn't mean I'm just gonna give up. I'm not gonna lie down. I have other interests that I can use to monetize, and that I can, try and use to make a better life and stuff. So, you know, it's not like all hope is ended just because I spend a week or so sleeping all the time. It's not like all hope is ended just because my entire life I've never been able to sleep on one schedule. But it makes things more complicated. And modern problems require modern solutions, I guess. So I think once I get out of this house, when I turn 18, and I start to look to what country it is that I actually want to go to, I kind of narrowed it down to three. The three countries that I would be the most interested in going to first to study to study in university in. And I just wanted to be away from here. So I don't want to study in university here, even though it would be like a little bit cheaper to do that. I really don't. I just want to go. I just want to go as soon as possible. Somewhere safer, somewhere nice, somewhere I don't have to pay for Ubers and drive a car and all that stuff. Because the money that I would be quote unquote saving from going to university here, I would just be spending on Ubers and stuff, or spending on dumb American things. So I really just want to get out of here. I know that doesn't have very much to do with sleep, but man, I have been thinking about this for like 2 months now. 2 months now, I've been like, this has constantly been on my mind, constantly, that I just really, really want to get out of here. And I think about it a lot. I'm always devising different plans, figuring out the logistics of how to do it. And I think it's important to have a plan like that when you're like me, where like mentally, you're kind of at a disadvantage to the entire way society has been structured. And so when you have a problem like that, you really have to come in with a plan and figure out what it is that you're going to do. I know that's the problem with sleeping 24 hours a day.